Hey people, in that last movie I was reading about these pygmies and showing you why I would replace this scratched off god with Anki here. And I noticed, read up above, and there's several places that it's been scratched off up here. So I thought I'd show you how I figure out what these scratched off are and what the meaning is of these symbols that don't show up often. And this is the easiest one here. This is the TH, the M, the H, and the G, the throwing stick, possibly the G. And then, I always read this as the AS, the way the man's sitting, his ass is on the ground, ass. And the feminine, I give it a R, as in her. And it means as or has. It means this type of. And you see it in the Hebrew, this base word for men that comes up the most 1,000 times. They give it the IS, it's the AIS, as. And reads several ways. Sometimes it reads backwards first, to see as, see is, that type of man and what it means. And you see the same thing in the base word for the wife, for the woman, is the last two. And the word that comes up most, is Isa, usually is so. It's going to read backwards and forwards, or asset, your wife. Or your wife might be a chiasm. Well, she's a total chiasm. That would be here in Sarah, the lesser R chiasm. So it's surely God telling Abraham, hey, when your wife, she gets all fidgety and clumsy, dropping stuff, she needs a good old reaming, and should be a lesser R chiasm. And then I look at the return, the letters, the G and the H, or the G and the E and the M. And I look at the picture and see what it represents, the bind, he's binded up. What kind of word would end with a G, H, M, and mean binded up? And I think cage, this is a C-A-K-A-G-H, the K-A-G-E, the cage. And that's what it's talking about, is playing with your grandkids, and sit with them, hug, H-G, the hug, as cage them. You hug them as a cage, they can't get away. And so figuring out what these are helps me on these that are a little more difficult. And so here, she's sitting there, she's the ASR as her, and she got the feather of Matt on her head, the two truths, and she's holding the Ankh, the of it, and as her of it, the Magus, the MHGASR, the Magister of it, game, the Magister of it, her game. And so fill this more in with the upper up here. And then these here, this is usually a determinative, like this, or like this, that'll, usually be spelled out beside it here. It'll be spelled out, and then it'll be the picture here. And sometimes, these letters, these three letters. And sometimes it's these three letters, but it's read in the other direction, H N Q A. And then sometimes it's the three letters representing the next picture, was its determinative. So the same letters here, the Amen, could possibly been here, the Amen. And that's the way the Bible is, the Hebrew, the Greek, and this Book of the Dead. It's all poetry, and all the words double up, moody moot. Or it's possibly the symbol for Anki again that they wanted to wipe out, which is a good chance, that they didn't want us to know that we came from monkeys. Anki is the creator that created all, and so anything from Anki would be a monkey. And this symbol comes up often, and I give it a Aker, A-K-R, A-K-E-R. And here's a little proof of that right here. Anything comes up three times, it means the third, the U, they add to it. And so they say this is a set, and this is the set too, but it's the Aker. And so I penetrated these countries is occur, and then the U, uptin, a corruptin. And he corrupted these countries, corrupting. And here's some proof, my theory about this being a L instead of an A, and this being a LT. And the country sent is, the house in, and label it, LBLT, and label it. The label it comes from where it was sent from. And so this is, the rise, R-I-Z, raise 'em, maker, and label it. Whoever raised it, then label it as the maker. Who raised 'em, maker, and label it. Knew what, and fem. The parentheses on here means this was added in later, it looks like. It looks like this is knew what, F fucking, F-C-H-N-I, in fucking. And the way these lines are set here, it's a 3. That's where they're getting the third from. And it's also, the I Ching, the C-H-N-I Ching. And you see 3 little lines, meaning the Chinese, the change, things that can be changed. And so this would be the symbol of heaven, the cane, heaven, the strong, the father's summer. This is some ancient Indian magic, and it taught dumb men, how to use their mind as a computer to make better decisions. And then it taught smart men how to predict the future. And so it became of the devil because, they didn't want ordinary people to know how to use their brain. So as with lower here, it was talking about the pygmies, the babies, that's what it's talking about, is a baby, and corruptinase, N-A-I-S. A nase is only used in like 2 or 3 words in the world, mayonnaise. And they'll say they don't know where words like this come from, but a daze, is your head spinning in a daze. It means it takes a bunch of whipping, to create this sauce. They might be trying to keep this quiet because in past times it was easily done with a high capacity rotor stator. And a lot of people were confusing this for a Nazi metal. And the corruptinase, push, P-S-H, and push, and commie Aryan, a commie Aryan. And I read this as a of or, A-V-O-R, and they read it as a M-R, this is the S-M-R, and I'm not really sure about it. But you can see the or on the top where they're getting this R. And so it's possibly a determinative, with the spelling, with the 2 letters following it. And corruptinase, push, commie, the Aryan summer, more, and I'm giving this a Q or a K, and more a cause, K-A-S-Q-A-S, more a cause, and can, K-A-N, and can in, imperil it, P-R-R-I-L-T, imperil it, raise 'em, maker, enlabel it, knew what fucking heaven, push, raise 'em, maker, peril it in, then the M is going with what's missing here. And this is a big one here, and it makes me think that it had the determinative, and it was spelled out too. And so the way I'm figuring it out, by reading the lines around this, and by figuring out what these 2 were, these other 2 that were missing, and within these 2, that's going to be what was here. But it'll probably give the biggest clue just right here in this line, and it's here by the way of, it's here, and it's ism day, D-A-Y. This is a limb, or a M, E-M, and Hiram Day. But this ends with the A, so the A-E becomes the E-S-M, meaning, the 2 of them, the ism. And you see that in Genesis 1, in creation, the ism. And it makes me think of the mixing them nays, little yin yang mixer in there, the isms. And here ism day which let occur communism, the communism maker. By the way of what I found, the Prince of Amman is here ism day which let occur, to let occur communism. And so, I tell you, in the Hebrew, the word for the two men fighting is Nazis, and it means Nazis. And that's what it means, is Nazis. Hey, these are not Z's. You got your Z's and you got your Nazis. So it's, this is the two fish. And it means, mixing it up. Sometimes it's two men, and sometimes it's an ism. Sometimes it's not Z's. Z's mean somebody's sleeping. Not Z's, nobody's sleeping here. And the ism, churning creation. And this type of communism can be found in the definition of this word the communism. And they'll say it means found, but sometimes they'll say it means like, similar, the communism. So if you follow the trail of who's trying to cover up the symbols, it's probably the same people that were trying to wipe these marks out before. But I believe it'll call them out by name down here. So this word here, they say this is an A single, and they say this is an M most of the time. I say it's a Z. And they say this is an MA determinative, meaning trees, and the M. And so this word will change up. It's the same one that was a maker, from the maker, mom, M-A-M. It could be mom, either direction. And so this word here, this is what developed our word what. It's actually what let, not just what, but what caused it, where it come from, what let occur, communism. And then maker a saccharum, a maze. Coming from, sacrament, the sacro, hollow, consecrate, the holy. The communismum occur in the sacrum, and sacramums as letum, and sacramums as letum, the sacrament of making a mom, the sacramums as letum. And then this sounds like a magic spell here. More fur to, more FRTO, more fur to, the Magester. The MHGAS. And I'm giving the feather a T before the R, the Magester. And then the Ankh is the of a tag, TJH, a tagum mothers, a tagum mothers who, a tag of mothers to, STU, tag of mothers set to, them hug 'em as cage 'em, the rank, the R, and this is a NK or NQ or a NCH, a rank, something smells rank, or the ran, RANKAH, the ran catch. And then the ran catch, and probably a men was in here, and the ran catch 'em in a minutin, and put fit, PTPT or PTFT, and put fit peril, PRRILT, perilit, and come chauffeur to, after him is come chauffeur to. And come chauffeur to them hug 'em as cage 'em. Come chauffeur to 'em. She got pregnant and her tits are way out front. They're in front of her. Come chauffeur to them hug 'ems. Them hug is cage 'em. This atop it tops. This atop it tops when. And shorin XURUN, sure enough. And sure and if, two N's, IF. And sure and if her. And DEM, heard 'em. And this is the two that's in tuat or duet. It makes me think, the duet could mean, them as the two of them. But sure when if heard 'em, so says, the hands up for life, giving it the E, SASES. So says 'em, EM. Then, THN, then it true. And so says 'em, then it true. Or then it run Ben. Then it run Ben at-aware. And I believe this just reads as Hera, not to where Hera. The grandmother of all the gods, queen of the gods. And so, people think when they hear us southern people say, sure enough, I sure enough and heard it, and so says I'm true, They think that we're illiterate when we talk like that, but actually, that was the people who could read that talked like that. And sure enough, heard 'em, so says 'em then true. And so it appears that they're manipulating some type of creation. It might be talking about some fruit, or trying to manipulate a sheep or an animal to get a white skin out of it. Or trying to manipulate the people to believe there's a pandemic going on or something like that, Well, sure enough, I heard it. So says 'em, then true in Bennett where, and it's so that it was, sure enough heard it. I sure enough heard it. It's so that it was. Whatever they hear on TV. Abracadabra, to create with the word. So you can see how I think the same people that interpreted this, were interpreting the Bible. It's so that it was for adoring gods, is sure enough heard 'em, so says 'em, then true in Bennett, so that it was for adoring gods and all of. And so adoring gods is babies. Or, in Ben Atu, talking about the two truths of the feather of Matt. Yankee Doodle stuck a feather in his hat and called it macaroni. And in the Greek they'll say, the feather in your hat means to go into corrupt. So it's the two truths. And this, they say it's a T and represents fire. And I believe it's like that because, there's so many T's. I believe this one reads as a T in one direction, an S in the other. Like if you were sitting around the fire, on one side it's crackling, and on the other side it's hissing, depending on which way the wind's blowing. And sure enough, for heard 'em so says 'em, then true in Bennett too, and where her, WR, and I believe this is just the HER, meaning her, the feminine. It's where the word wearer and error, you see the curse in the Hebrew be called the error. And I went forth after him to the land, is come so far too. Oh, I come so far too. Went forth after him to the land. And so there's a good chance, that this is this representation here, which is the NQ or the NCH, honk. And it's surely where your word honky come from. But best chances are, it was the amen spelled out here, and it's the run catch 'em in 'em. Run catch 'em, amen, a minute, amen, a minute. Run and catch 'em in a minute. And put fit, paralit, come so far. Come so far, or come chauffeur. Come so far taught, and taught 'em hug as cage 'em. come run to grandma for protection. This a top passion. This, and this is a ETP, SETP, this, and this a topic, PSHN, and this a topic passion. And sure enough heard 'em says it, sure enough heard 'em says 'em, then true and Ben, then true and Bennett too, where here, you better hear what she says. So, what this is telling me is they already had one way of writing, probably just like this for the people. And this was just a private joke for the people who could read it. And it was surely, a private club. They've been toning it for years, working on the language. But it's a rebus. It's just for the guys who like solving puzzles. And it's really helped me to understand the Hebrew better. And I'm going to have to go back to this Hebrew in this next movie and show you what I learned about it in this according to our likeness, and let them to rule over the fish, and what that actually means about the budget him. The word to budget him and let them rule over the fish. But the word, the word is creation, and it's the magic. It's also the rule. Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.